Jessica, thank you so much for just like coming on the show. And really, I'm really excited to talk with you and just learn from your perspective. I mean, there's so much that you bring to the table and so much that you do. As I was saying, I was checking out your website. Just for everyone listening, how would you describe you and your work and who you are and what you do?
Okay, so that's a big question.
Yeah, sorry.
Basically, I'm just human like everybody else, a spiritual being filtered through a physical body and enjoying every moment. And I've always been a fairly practical person, so I've always wanted to work out ways to live the most sensational life that I possibly can and, feel joy and happiness and ease and flow, and to follow my purpose and to help others do the same. So that's really what I'm all about. I spent a lot of time in psychology and counseling, and I've been meditating since I was 10. And for the most part of 2 decades, have been working with clients in energy therapy realms, so doing healings and helping people to sort of come back to their center. And to really understand that loving themselves, this feeling of self-love and acceptance is one of the most profound ways that we can let energy flow. And it really does completely change your life when you have this feeling of deep self-love and appreciation. And it just filters into every other aspect of your life, whether it's abundance or career or, being with children or with your parents or whatever your sort of situation might be. When you can deeply love and accept and appreciate yourself, it just opens the floodgates to energy moving through your body. And, love is one of the greatest healers. So, I believe that no matter what kind of experience we've had in our lives, we're able to overcome those things, learn from them and grow from them and use them as a bouncing off, a jumping off point for phenomenal manifestations and, just a very joyful life. It's all about the journey, really.
Yeah, I love that. And actually, I think this was a wonderful reminder because I go through waves myself, and seeing your website and just reconnecting with this sort of intrinsic wisdom sort of helped me back up to the higher part of the wave, where it's like anytime you're trying to make something happen in your life, whether it's a work related thing or a business or like a relationship related thing or something personal for you, you're trying to accomplish something, that it entirely really starts here. And if we're always trying to just like get it right on the outside, but we haven't addressed the inner state, we're going to have a lot more trouble than if we can surrender to just like feeling maybe it's worthy of having that thing or creating that thing or doing whatever it is that you're trying to do, right? It's like it starts with the belief and that feeling that you can in the first place. And that starting there makes it so much easier, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's where it's all coming from anyway. Like everything in our reality is just an extension of our thoughts and feelings. So, it's an illusion based on this dream that we're having, that we're an individual. And the closer that you can become with the source of who you really are and that energy that's flowing, that oversoul that's trying to flow through you, then, everything that you want or need to happen in life just comes to you instead of this forceful pushing or trying, this energy of trying to do something. It's just, it's part of being human, and it's all really, really great. It's all part of it. I do believe in the two becoming one, not just in all of the spiritual stuff, but also the fact that we're human and we're connected to the earth and we're made from the same elements as the earth, and bringing it all together and allowing there to be an easy understanding of what is actually going on inside you is key to moving forward in whatever direction it is. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're wanting to achieve is going to flow much more easy from a place of alignment to who you really are. Than any other way.
My favorite word, actually one of my favorite words, period, but also my favorite word regarding like this process of what you're describing is effortlessness. Like when it just happens so easily. And but at the same time, I think, you know, it's like there must be that balance. As you're saying, you know, it's like all the spiritual stuff, but also the physical stuff. Like there must be some level of participation, of activity, of
Absolutely.
putting yourself into it, because this is the big thing of like you don't just think something and it just appears right in front of you, not in this dimension. And so
Exactly.
things can be graceful and easy, but there also needs to be like a practice, like a participation
Yeah.
in it, and a little bit of effort. But I think maybe that's where that effortlessness comes from, is like when the effort is also fun. And I'm having an experience right now where I'm teaching myself piano, just using an app, like on an iPad, and it's really fun to like. At first, it was hard to like just like conceptualize and just get the hang of it, but now it's starting to be a lot more easy, and it's like graceful, and I'm learning very quickly, even though it challenges me at times. So it's got that, you know, inner enthusiasm meeting with the challenge of the outward to create like a really cool learning, growing experience.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely awesome. I think if we could just remove the word effort and put time and attention in there instead,
Mm,
that we would understand that it's not so much effort has all of these connotations of being hard and you have to force and you have to push and,
yeah.
it's difficult. Whereas if we just replace that with time and attention, because that's all that's really going on, when to build a successful business or to have, this amazing YouTube channel like yours or whatever it might be, whatever people are trying to achieve in life, there is that thing where they feel that it's not easy. You have to effort and you have to work hard. But if we can just replace that with time and attention, that's going to give you all of those great benefits. It's just without the feeling of unease as you move along, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So you give it lots of time, you give it lots of attention, and it will build just like anything.
Would you say that attentiveness is a good word to describe, like being attentive to the thing of your focus?
Being present with it
Being
is
present.
very key. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and when you're enjoying what you're present with, then that's the fun part about it. That's where it's an experience where you're receiving and a joy.
Yeah.
So it makes it a wonderful experience
Yeah, absolutely.
instead of something that we're fighting for or fighting against, because all
Mm-hmm.
that's going to do is create a resistance. There's resistance in that,
Mm-hmm. When I first learned, or when I was first starting my spiritual journey, which was almost exactly 10 years ago now, this period of time that we're in right now, one of the things that I remember reading and learning was that it's like when you're creating from the mind, when you're creating from this sort of like, that duality consciousness, is like you're creating what you want in one direction, but you're also creating what you don't want in the other direction. And then that karma will eventually come back around to bite you in the ass, basically, or they'll come to cancel each other out. So, it's like, let's say, random example, like that, if you're wanting to have a paper company, you have to like cut down trees on one side, and you're also causing deforestation on the other side. Like, so there's like this karma, this positive and negative. But then if you're creating from the heart, you're creating with this like unity consciousness, and there is none of that negation. You just get what you want. You just breathe into and manifest the thing, whatever the thing is that you're striving for. And so it's like a really good reminder still to like sink in to here, be here now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the most powerful place that we've got anyway. That's our massive powerhouse. The mind is, tiny compared to the energy of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where love and acceptance comes in. Because if we have that feeling of love and acceptance and we're integrated within ourselves and we have that feeling of unity within, then that powerhouse is just beaming out of us and magnetizing things into our experience. because it's coming from such a pure space. It's coming from our soul space. Our heart is our soul feeds through our heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's almost like because you do have the two. You have the heart and the mind for a reason. And if this guy is in control, if the heart's in control, but then with the mind, this is what allows us to have a body and to have language and to have all of the things that makes up the intricacies of human experience, right? Like even the conceptualization of things like computers and making food and all of these things, you really, it's the brain is the thing conceptualizing them. Whereas the heart is like your pure existence. So you really need to have the two, but we just have to, we've kind of flipped it where the brain, people generally in mass think that the brain is like the seat of all of your existence. And if we just move that a little bit more to the in between, the above and below, it opens up the space for like the mind to become so much more expansive because it's listening to that spiritual powerhouse that you're describing.
Absolutely. But we're not going to negate the mind because it also can cause a lot of problems, for us as far as, so if you don't deal with it, if you don't look at it, if you don't open the door and shine a light on what's really going on there, then we can have all of these beautiful feelings. But if we're but we can be coming up against resistance all the time. If there's belief systems in our mind, which are, like you were saying before, telling us that we're not worthy or that there's something wrong with us and that we don't deserve to have whatever our heart is saying that it wants, that's when you are getting that, what you were mentioning before about it, sort of voiding each other out because we're not allowing ourselves to follow our heart. We're not allowing ourselves for our soul to be truly expressed. So, with the channel, I've focused a lot on positive affirmations and cognitive reprogramming, and finding, that positive line. But there's such benefit in, taking a really good look at things as well and lifting out the stuff that you don't need anymore, because our creation and our evolution through our own personal experience has given us opportunities to learn about worth and love and care and kindness and all these sorts of things for ourselves. It's part of our growth and development from the time we were little. We've made decisions about what's important to us and how we fit in the world and who we really are based on experiences we've had when we're really little. So it still is important to take a look at what is happening in our subconscious mind and what we are allowing to be created in our world, based on some beliefs that we have established from the time that we were really little. That, so it's all good and it's all really important. And if we can get the two working together, just like the spirit and the human working together, then it just sets you up for a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm very curious to hear your, based on your work and your experiences and your findings, what would you say is the number one ways of creating those reprogrammings within yourself?
Well, I feel, to be able to take a deep dive into your subconscious mind by using whatever is presenting itself in your current life is always a great place to start. Because what is going, if you have any issues or dissatisfaction with things that are going on right now, that's going to give you a beautiful tool to move very far into where that originally came from, and there's core feelings that and thoughts and perceptions that have created, your life as it is right now. What you're living right now is just a conglomeration of past feelings and thoughts and beliefs. So whatever's going on in your life right now, if you can really dive into how you're really feeling about it, because energy is all about how you're feeling. And keep diving into the feeling until you get to a place of the very core of it, you know, which quite often comes down to, very often comes down to feelings of hopelessness or helplessness, feelings of, it's the flight or fight, you know, you either want to fight it or you want to run away. And when you get, because that's the ego's way of protecting ourselves. So if we can dive all the way down to how am I feeling, and underneath that, how else does that make me feel, and how else do I feel, and how else do I feel, and you go all the way down to the very core beliefs, and then take a look back to, you know, the very first time that you ever felt like that. When was the very first moment that you ever felt whatever feeling that is? And it gives you such profound insight into how you have created your world now based on perceptions and beliefs from when you're a child. So that's one good place to start. It is helpful to have other people to kind of guide you through that. And then, you know, putting in lots of positive information is going to help to adjust the negative thinking, you know, which is like a part of society. It has been for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, like just listening to you, I feel like I just entered into a therapy session, because you're like, just go back and think about your life and then where you're really feeling. And I'm like, huh, yeah, I'm doing that now. So it's the this is like a visual that I just kind of got too, is well, in order to explain this, let me very briefly say, one of the things that you reminded me of was how Dr. Bruce Lipton from the Biology of Belief kind of explains that the subconscious or the unconscious mind needs like repetition, maybe even hypnotism, like deep moving, you know, like, and lots of that repetitive frequencies in order to shift itself from one thought to another. Whereas, like, you know, if I just say like, you know, the sky is orange, and you say that and you hear it once, you're like, okay, but I don't really believe that. But if you heard it nonstop over and over, you'd start to retry and conceptualize, like, maybe everything that is I think of as blue is actually orange. And like, if, you know, if it was just reprogrammed over and over and over and over and over, it could be intense. And so the visual I got when you were describing everything was kind of like, almost like, here's like our source point, and here's our conscious mind kind of emanating from it, but like source pointed, like coming from sort of the subconscious and unconscious realm, I guess unconscious first and then subconscious. And that like on the outside, like at the conscious mind, things can move very freely. Like you can have all kinds of conversations and explore ideas and da 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 da. But as you go deeper, closer to that source, it becomes more and more difficult to like change, you know, your nature, except through that, like, again, as you're describing, like going deeper to your core and identifying the past things and repetition and the positive affirmations and all these things to create ripples that are deeper and more lasting because they're closer to your intrinsic being. Does that resonate? Make sense with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You got it. You're totally there.
Sweet.
The self-realization is very key, though. You know, when we understand something, we're able to reframe it. We're able to think and feel about things differently when there's a slightly different perspective. So we can do that now if you want.
Oh, are we actually we're in like a little thing?
We can if you want. It's, I mean, you know, like it's a...
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you go.
Well, I was going to say, well, we're here now, so let's see where things go. This is a new experience for me on the podcast, but this is fun. Yeah. This is great.
Well, you know, I feel like I feel like there is. I feel deeply that there's something within you that's wanting to change, that's been wanting to change for a while, and there's energy that's kind of stuck. There's a place in your life where you're feeling quite. It's like you keep hitting a little bit of a wall, and you can't seem to get beyond that place. And you know, I can help you with that if you want.
on a live call that's going up on YouTube. Well,
You can
it's
edit
interesting.
out this part.
No. It's good. It's good. I like to be open with everyone. So, I mean, this is great because I would say absolutely. And right now, I'm attentively putting a lot of focus into this one area of my life, which I think is largely based around relationships and just like the concept of dating. For the most part, I was in a long relationship for about 4 years between like 2012 and 2016, and then I was keeping myself very closed from all relationships from 2016 until 2021. And so right now I'm kind of opening that door. I'm just starting to like open up to deeper, more intimate connections. And it's great actually. Like, and as far as like, shifting it, there's all kinds of things that I'm actively working on. And I feel even in the last week, I've grown tremendously. But I also acknowledge, like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm still very new to that journey. This is probably going to be something that lasts for a very long time. Maybe another 4 years, of like just the exploration, because this is not a world that I'm as familiar with. I've spent far more time in my life focusing on work, spirit science, growing, making cartoons. And it was more of my comfort zone. So I stayed there and got really good at it.
Got very good at it. Absolutely.
Thanks.
But we do grow, we do grow from relationships profoundly because it shows us parts of ourselves. Mm-hmm. It's a reflection. We can really grow so much with relationships. We don't have to if you don't want to, but I just thought there's an opportunity there.
We're in it now. So this is like a primer, because anybody who's watching, they can like, make the decision if they want to like, come and book a call with you or something like that based on this, what they're hearing here.
Oh, honey, that's not what this is about. I'm booked up for like 2 years.
Well.
And I have other. Yeah, so I'm not trying to get more of that. I just feel that I just can feel you, and I just feel I can feel where you're at. That's all.
Okay.
So,
okay,
yeah,
great.
it's not. I don't need clients.
Well, it's just a thought, anyways. But yeah, no, totally. I mean, if you don't mind using the time too, because I was going to ask you about like energy healing and stuff, but I guess I don't have to ask you because we're going to do it.
Yeah, well, no, we're not going to do it. We're just going to take a little dive into you, just a little tiny dive.
All right.
If you're, and pull out some of the weeds, so
That's
that you've
perfect.
got this beautiful garden to create from, and that's what it's really about. You're able to feel your heart and your soul moving through you more when the weeds are gone. If you're covered in lantana and all sorts of big sticky things, it's harder to move forward and to keep growing.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not one to be afraid of going within, so let's do this thing.
So what's the main feeling then that you what's that, the main, when you're talking about this new relationships and you're being able to express yourself differently? In the past, you've just stayed with with the cartoons and focus on the channel, and now you're moving into allowing yourself to open to new relationships. Where do you feel your resistance is there?
Well, I don't know that, like, I think the inner resistance, because there's actually very little outer resistance, in the sense that I'm actively learning and implementing, using dating apps and just talking to people and connecting with people and getting to know like where people are at. I think the inner resistance comes with the sort of like the lack of knowing of how to communicate in, and also identify where other people are at. Because when it comes to like dating apps, this is such a strange world that it's like there's everything from people just looking for hookups, people looking immediately for long-term things. There's crazy people, there's really shy people. And then there's, old crusty dudes in their mom's basements who are putting up photos of girls to try and, you know, steal people's butt virginities. And so it's there's like everything that's possible in the midst of it. And so I'm like just like how to navigate this, and I'm just sort of like just getting my feet. I was like talking to people and like, you know, trying to see fulfilling a conversation also is very difficult on Tinder, at least on Tinder, because there's just so, like, for most women, they get so many matches because there's like 20% women on the app and like 80% guys. So trying to carry out a conversation is more difficult than it seems. And so I'm learning how to navigate that as well, how to create, you know, meaningful conversation or some kind of conversation that doesn't just trail off into oblivion. But I would say it's like it's not so much like a resistance that I'm personally feeling as much as it's maybe like like I'm learning to sail in an ocean, and like that I've never charted before, never gone through before. And so like there's all these waves and I'm sort of like, how do you navigate that? How do you, holy shit, what? Okay. You know, like that's kind of where I feel like I'm at.
Absolutely. I completely hear what you're saying. I've done that as well. And it is a very overwhelming kind of experience. It's completely different to dating as it used to be.
Yeah.
Totally different. So, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, I assure you.
Great.
Yes. So in doing that, what's the main feeling that's going on when you're trying to navigate all these big waves of that you've never sailed before? What's the main feeling there?
I feel like there's a different feeling for every little stage. Like there's the feeling is pretty good up until like it's like getting matches or making connections. There sometimes is a little bit of and it's not a huge thing, but it's like a fear, or like I would say a very light fear. Like it's not death-defyingly terrifying, but it's sort of like, wow, like I would match with someone or meet someone and be like, wow, you have a great vibe and we would probably get along really well. I hope I hear from her, like, and it's just like, you have to kind of just like let go and trust. And that would probably be it. Like that, like from there, then it would get to like if I do hear from them, it becomes a different level of a light fear. That would be like how to take this conversation and actually turn it into something like getting either a phone number or adding on Instagram or somewhere else other than the app to communicate. That's another challenge in and of itself, specifically because they're probably, at least in some cases I've learned, they're also feeling a little bit timid, maybe a little bit shy, or a little bit this and that, or whatever it is. And so for whatever reason, there's a challenge there. And I think that poses sort of like a requirement of me building up confidence, and then just again like more trust and more faith in the whole process of learning. Because again, like I'm literally like 1 week into this. This is like a very new thing for me. So I'm still like, I don't know, I'm still learning, and I'm trying to just like lighten up for myself and have fun with it.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. So the main thing that I heard when you were talking then was about this fear of trusting, this having faith in, and sort of questioning whether you can trust yourself or other people. So if you were to just, you want to tell me more about that?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. So when you have this feeling, if can I ask you to close your eyes for a little bit?
Totally. We're going deep in this podcast. This is fun.
Okay. So if you can just relax your body completely let go of any tension or stress. Just completely relaxing every muscle, letting go, letting any tension or stress just melt away from every part of you. And we'll just take a little dive into that fear of trusting, into those feelings of being afraid, of trusting either the process or people or yourself, whatever it is. Just feel into that place a little bit. When you're feeling like you can't trust, can you tell me, are you afraid of trusting others or yourself or life? What's the main feeling there?
I think it's the connection between myself and the other. So there's a little bit of both. But the bigger trust that I'm, again, practicing, even in that, the bigger trust is like having faith in the universe that I'm learning the lessons that I need to. So that one I feel I'm covered. But the trusting, like, yeah, in both myself, what do I want, my actions, making the right choices, taking, being mindful and careful and loving with everyone that I talk to, and learning to trust them that they'll be authentic. And that's something that maybe they're not always, but I don't know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we just take a little dive into that feeling of questioning whether you can trust yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want you to really feel into that place. Whereabouts in your body do you feel this place where you're not trusting?
It's mostly sacral and a little bit of solar plexus.
Mm-hmm. And when you feel like you don't trust yourself, how else does that make you feel?
Lonely.
Mm-hmm. And when you're feeling lonely, how else does that make you feel?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the loneliness feels like a base level.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of descends down to the root, and it becomes like a root level isolation experience. Yeah.
What does that feel like when it's at the root level and isolated? What does it look like, or what does it feel like?
I think it gives birth to a desire for closeness.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So it actually compels me into the path of doing something about it. So it's a self-healing cycle of, like, the descent into the loneliness naturally compels me to create a resolution, a transmutation of the energy that compels me to explore things in a different way.
Perfect. Yeah. So just for the sake of this process, if that feeling of loneliness or isolation was to continue, how would that make you feel?
More and more motivated to do something about it.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, and can you tell me if it had a form, this feeling of, we're just going to stay with the sort of the feelings of isolated and lonely, because it's awesome that there's motivation to do something about it. But what we're going to do is just take a deeper look into the isolated and lonely feeling, so that if we can pull those weeds out, then there'll be a natural flow into companionship and the opposite of loneliness, basically.
Got it. Okay.
So it'd be a natural thing instead of a motivated to change, like there's something wrong. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I get it.
Like when you're motivated to change something, that's an awesome place to be in, absolutely awesome. But there's also some kind of judgment in you that's saying that it's wrong or it's not okay where I'm at, because it has to move and change. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. I'm not sure if I fully see that for myself, but also I kind of do. But the reason I say that is because what it feels like, the compulsion to change and to evolve, really comes from the state, like this heart heartfelt knowing that I'm ready for something greater, that I'm ready
Awesome.
for more levels of connection. So there is this heart-centered, the motivation isn't just from this like root fear of wanting to change, but it's actually coming from like this stepping into something better and greater and lighter and higher for myself, and being more social,
Yes.
being more connected with people, and more connected with where people are at, and also with myself and my body and my relationship to others. And so with all of that said, I'm still happy to, look at the shadow here. But I do, I also want to say, like, all of the motivation and everything isn't just purely like stemming only from this one place, because it's also mirrored up here and up here.
Beautiful. That's absolutely awesome that you have those feelings in your heart and in your crown, that it's this, desire to move forward and to grow and to step into the unknown and to have more connection. That's absolutely awesome. That's amazing. Really good.
Thanks.
Do you mind if we, can we step into that?
Totally.
Into the shadow just a little bit more.
Go into the weeds. Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for now.
So with the lonely and isolated feeling, if that had form in your body anywhere, inside or outside your body, what would that look like or feel like?
Kind of, I don't know. What I'm seeing in this moment is like underwater seaweed, like a field of seaweed that's kind of moving like this. That's what I'm kind of seeing. Maybe it's really thick. I don't know. Man, it's not too bad. But it's not super thin either.
Okay. And where is that located, within you or outside you?
The same place, like sacral area, a little bit up higher, a little bit lower, but it's like a sacral thing.
Okay, great. So in this moment right now, I want you to really feel into that sort of seaweed moving, being under the water, and that seaweed moving within you. And I want you to go back to the very first time that you ever felt that feeling of being underwater and that seaweed moving, going all the way back to the very first time that you ever felt this seaweed moving underwater, all the way back to the very first time. The very first time that you ever felt that seaweed moving underwater around your sacral area. And when you're there, let me know.
Okay, I think I got it.
Okay. And how old do you feel you are in this moment?
Like 6.
And what's happening around you? If you were to take a little look around, what's going on around you? Where are you?
It's a feeling of rejection coming from school, like experiences with peers at school. And I think just because we're also recording this, I think I'll keep that as like I mean, for like a podcast, but also like that's roughly basically there's like kind of like the wanting to make friends and then not feeling accepted. And there's like this constant stream of that really happened through all of school. Kind of started at the beginning of school, but also probably and could have descended from certain things before that with like family, some stuff that would happen within like family or earlier years. But yeah.
Okay, so you've got the opportunity right now. We cannot, I'm very happy not to put any of this in the podcast, and this can just be about you, and we can have a whole conversation after this if you wish.
It's completely I feel like this is a really great podcast. So I'm actually happy to keep it in from the basis of like, I genuinely feel like authenticity is important. And if this helps people to do some shadow work for themselves, then I feel like it's my duty to publish it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I just want you to go back into that feeling you're 6 years old, you're at school, and there's this feeling of being rejected, that there's things going on with friends and peers at school where you feel like you're not being accepted. I just want you to really feel into that space right now. Take a really good look around. You don't have to share with me exactly what's going on, but just see and feel what's really happening there. And in this moment, when these things were happening to you, or you're experiencing this at school with your peers, what was the main perception? As we were talking about before, all of our experiences, we come to decisions about who we are, or we decide things about ourselves and about the world and about other people based on some specific moments in our growth and development. So in this moment, you made a significant decision about yourself or the world around you. What was that message that you started telling yourself from this moment forth?
The immediate thought that is coming through is this sort of, it's like a subconscious programming of like feeling like I have to try really hard and maybe even not be myself in order to make friends. Or that the kinds of things that I was interested in, other people weren't. So I would either, if I expressed those things, then I would not be accepted by the majority of people. And that also manifested. I'm like, as I went through grade school, there was the time like towards the end of like grade 5 and grade 6, like the end of grade school, or like the elementary school rather, where like I was getting into like Pokemon and anime and like the kids anime, like that kind of stuff, Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'd play like with Pokemon cards and on Game Boy and stuff like that. And there was there was a segmentation of like all the cool kids where like they would play football and like sports, and I was just like, I don't really care about that. And so like I kind of ended up in the like this little circle of like the nerds of the, or like and that was more of the manifestation, I think, of like the feeling that started when I was younger. But I would say that's like in terms of like what I told myself, or at least subconsciously was kind of believing was, yeah, it's like the things that I liked weren't cool, or the way that I had to try to fit in. Like I tried playing football. Apparently I was actually pretty good because I was pretty fast, but it just wasn't interesting to me, but that was the only way to like have friends, be friends with like the popular kids, as it were.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. So when you had that thought that the things that I like weren't cool, or that I had to work hard in order to make friends, what kind of perception did you then give to yourself? What did that make you think about yourself? What did that make you feel? So when you said that the things you liked weren't cool, if you thought that the things that you liked weren't cool, how did that make you feel?
Oh yeah, that I'm not cool, for sure.
Yeah. And when you're not cool, logical. How does that make you feel? How does it make you feel when you're not cool?
Uncool. I'm a loser. I mean, what do you want to say? Like, I think that's probably like yeah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like how do you identify the feeling of being a loser, of being like uncool? It's probably like something like being, I mean, it all kind of creates this vicious circle of like, this like loneliness, and then you're not cool, and then you spend more time alone. I don't know what the word would be, but there's probably some sense of maybe despair or something like that that's rooted in there. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I'm
when
trying to
you're
find a
feeling
feeling
that
to lock
low,
into.
that's okay. You're doing great. You're doing
Yeah.
so great.
Cool.
When you're feeling that loneliness and despair, and like you're a loser, how else does that make you feel? We're just taking a real deep dive into feelings, because as soon as we look at them and see them, it's automatically and instantly released. Okay, and change happens naturally when all that stuff is gone. When the weeds are taken out, it's like you're free to completely move forward. Okay, so that's what we're doing right now. So when you're feeling lonely, when you were feeling lonely in this moment, when you were 6 years old and you were feeling, and it kept progressing forward throughout your school life, when you were feeling lonely and despair and like a loser, how else did that make you feel?
There's a part of me that has this attitude, although I didn't have the language, of like, screw you guys, to like everyone else, and then just going more in the like, and again, like at first it was very, very light. In like when it first started, it was very, very light, but then as it progressed, there was sort of a rejection, because I was like, no, I want to play Pokemon cards. I want to play Beyblade. Like, that sounds like fun, even if there's like me and like two guys that are playing it, right? But I think that it's kind of a split too, because that, as it relates with like the relationship thing, all the girls. Now, granted, it was like, this is a thing that probably matured through more of the puberty and like junior high and high school. But as I'm growing up, this, even in the elementary, I think there was like the girls were more interested in the cool people, so they all kind of got lumped together into sort of like a screw you guys, and sort of a segmenting off myself and being like, I'm just going to go hang out over here and do this and do that and do my own thing that has nothing to do with everyone else. And then granted, like, again, like there's a small group of kids that we play Beyblade or whatever. But the point being that there's that like kind of attitude of almost like an arrogance of like, I probably adopted some like subconscious feelings of just like, well, you guys suck, or something like that. So it's like a rejection of a part of the school, or a part of the kids and the population. And I think that also, of course, on a deeper spiritual level, must certainly relate with like my well, it's like, everything is one. We're all one big body of consciousness. So as I'm rejecting a part of the quote unquote cool kids, I'm also rejecting a part of myself.
Mm-hmm. You got it. Absolutely.
Sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you were to, so one of the main things that came out of what you were just talking about then and before was that it's not okay necessarily to be yourself, because then you're not cool, then you're alone, or a loser, or you're not accepted by other people. So what we're going to do now is just take your now self at the age that you are right now, this adult that you are, and we're going to take him all the way back to this 6-year-old little boy. And I want you to stand next to that 6-year-old little boy and look at him and tell me, is he worth rejecting?
No, not at all. He's the coolest done little boy. He's the coolest little boy there ever done was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Is he a loser?
Not that I can tell.
Absolutely. Absolutely not. He's not. He's 6. He's an awesome little 6-year-old. He's an awesome little 6-year-old guy. He's absolutely awesome, magical, magnificent. Is what he's wanting to do, is that not cool?
No, he's free to do what he wants, and everything that he wants to do is cool because he wants to do it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you could, bend down on one knee and invite him over to you and hold him in your arms, how would that feel?
It feels great.
Yeah. And if you were to stand up with him, he's 6, so you can pick him up. If you were to pick him up and really hold him tight into your chest, how does that feel?
It also feels great.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you like to say to him right now? This little 6-year-old you.
I want to download all of my consciousness into his brain so that he can be a super 6-year-old.
But he is. Yeah. He already is a super 6-year-old, and he's already got all of the information that you've got. But we're just bringing like conscious awareness to his feelings and to your feelings.
Yeah.
To being human, to being a little boy and now being an adult, and you being the adult that you are right now. What would you like to say to him as he's only 6 and he's having all these feelings like he's been a loser and he's not cool and he's rejected and he's been lonely and he's been in despair. So as the adult person that you are looking at this amazing little 6-year-old boy, what do you want to say to him?
I would start by saying, I love you, and that I am you, which means that I love me and you love you. And and that you're awesome. And not to worry so much, but to trust and to listen and to learn and to there's so much, really. Like given the opportunity, it's like, like practice your telepathy. Work on your chakras. Go ask your mom what chakras are. See if you can get the Flower of Life books earlier. But really, it's like nurture your creative spark. Like don't judge yourself based on where other people are at, because you have the makings of greatness in you, and it's and you can pull that out, not just for yourself, but you can help the others find their greatness as well.
Yeah, you can, and you do. You sure do. Excellent. Very good. Now I want you to take that little boy right into the center of your heart and hold him there in the middle of your heart, making a safe space for him to stay in your heart, where he feels loved, where he knows that he's loved by you, and that he can nurture his creativity and he can be who he wants to be and not worry about what other people think. He can listen and he can learn and he can nurture his creativity, but he never has to judge himself because he's loved by you. So just hold him in that beautiful space within your heart. And then together, take a look forward into the future, into your future. Together, looking forward into your future. What do you see for your future together?
Well, there's a few different levels, I suppose. On the one hand, at the biggest level, I see greatness, in the sense of like creating really great things for, both through me, but with my team, and just the scale of global effects that we can have when we all work together. That's a big thing. But I more on the path of the core original topic. I I'd like to say like lots of dates, but also I think, right. But I think also like what I'm really wanting to feel into and what I want to create. Yeah. What I'm feeling and wanting to create and creating through the feeling is meeting the right people who can nurture and support, who we can nurture and support each other in our unique greatness, like, so that it's not just lots of dates with like people who are just kind of like, just floating through life, but people who are really like about something and authentic and really, really cool. And like, without even attachment of like, any expectations for what it could look like, what the various dates or relationships could look like, but just meeting like the right people and like letting everything happen naturally. And I think the bottom line feeling is this feeling of fulfillment, of the desire for connection and the desire for closeness in the perfect way.
Beautiful, wonderful. Excellent. And if you could see that already happening and feel it already happening, just let yourself go into that place right now where you've got that beautiful little boy that you love inside your heart, and you're feeling that fulfillment and that connection with somebody else that's on the same path as you, that you're connecting with on so many levels, feeling nurtured and feeling nurturing, this equality. Just let yourself feel into that space just for a moment. What that would be like, the feelings of fulfillment you would get from that. Okay, and now just bringing your attention back to this very magical moment in time right now in your body, where you're completely held by space, by the universe, nurturing that beautiful, awesome, amazing, super incredible little boy within you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So just pulling out some weeds, that's all it is.
Is it just me, or are the birds going crazy on your end?
Yeah, it's dawn. It's dawn here in Australia. The sun is rising.
I see. You're in Australia. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take that as a good sign.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's the beginning. It's the beginning of something new for you.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you very much for this supportive transformation. Impromptu supportive energy healing. I definitely wasn't going into this call expecting anything like that.
No, neither was I, but that's what we spoke about before, just letting it all flow. Whatever happens is all perfect.
It's perfect. Wow.
Yeah.
So normally the podcast usually goes for an hour, and we just hit our hour. But before we close, I wanted to ask you if you could maybe share also a little bit about your YouTube channel and your meditations, because I was really tuning into those, and you have like overnight sleeping transformation mantra meditation experiences for people, right? And I thought maybe you could speak a little bit about that, because those are really cool and very valuable for people who are just wanting to like reprogram themselves while they sleep.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely awesome. It's cognitive reprogramming. So, we all have a lot of, negative thoughts. A lot of us do. We have anxiety and fear and doubt and worry and all that sort of stuff. It's all just part of being human. So, positive affirmations have helped me tremendously from the time I was very young. And so it just felt very natural to create overnight ones, because when you're in that beautiful sleep state, and especially when you're transitioning into the deeper states of sleep, you're completely open. And if we can put in all of the good information as you're transitioning into sleep, and then while you're sleeping, it just makes for a sensational life, because you wake up out of that, especially after a while. The repetition kind of helps you to think differently about yourself and about the world. And when you think differently about yourself and about the world, then the world is different to you, and life is more miraculous. When you believe that you're a miraculous being, and that you're loved, and that you're loving, and that you're cared for, and that you're awesome and amazing, well, then what is going to show up for you in your life is totally different to when you are doubting yourself, and you're worrying about yourself, and you're judging yourself harshly, and you're anxious, and you're angry, or whatever the feelings are that you struggle with, that people struggle with on a daily kind of basis. The cognitive programming at night can really make a massive difference to transitioning you over to, the slightly more positive side. It is maintenance. It's that consistent, right, this is the way I want to think, and this is the way I want to feel about my life, and making that intention, directing your thoughts in that way, instead of just being just succumbing to the norm of, where everybody else is vibrating and their frequencies of thinking and feeling. You're making a conscious effort, a conscious decision, to align yourself to, the truth, which is that you're loved and you're amazing, and you can do and have whatever you want, and life is here for us, and we're supported and we're safe. No matter what's going on the outside, that's sort of showing us different things. If we can transition into this real consistent ways of habitual thinking in that direction, then, everything in our life is going to adjust and change to suit the way that we are thinking and feeling. So it's very good.
It's very good. It's like I only just learned about them, but I'm actually going to put them on tonight, or put one on tonight, and just try it out. And I'm really excited to see the results of just the continued giving that a try. So
yeah. Well, a lot of people have been doing it for a long time now, and their life is testament to how it has helped them to adjust, because their whole life changes. Their bodies start to heal, and everything in their world is different, and what they can manifest is it's so fast. It's so fast when you're in alignment to what you're really wanting, and you're not having all of these resistant feelings and thoughts that you can like we just did. You've got to pull out some of those weeds. But even if you don't have the opportunity to do that, to just constantly intentionally align yourself with more beneficial, positive ways of thinking and feeling, then, it's just going to be reflective in your life. It's really easy. It's not a big deal. Life is really good if we want it to be,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You've done that for yourself. You've created this incredible world for yourself. The reality that you've created is phenomenal. And everybody has that opportunity if they choose to do that.
I resonate with that a lot. So before this is so funny. It's 11:11 exactly on my time here. So before we bring things to a close here, are there any final, really, just significant, important things that you really feel compelled to share with the world, that you would, if you'd like a space to share? I would love to hold this, invite you to just let it flow,
Just simply that we are so held you know, we're so supported and we're so held. And the being that we are, all of us are, and that one being that we're all flowing is miraculous. And we can choose to align that if we wish.
Yeah.
So, and what that feeling is love, you know, attuning to love, aligning with love, choosing love instead of fear. Fear is never going to get us there, but love just does so fast. And that's it. My message is all about love, self-love, love for others. It's just love.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Jessica, thank you so much. This was a really unexpected podcast that I think went really well. For anybody who wants to find you, where can they find you?
So my YouTube channel is Rising High Meditation, and they'll find all sorts of great stuff on there, and Rising High Music also, if you just want to meditate on your own or sleep with some beautiful music. And my website's jessshepherd.com, pretty easy to remember.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to have a conversation with a wonderful human being.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.